Hey everyone, welcome to my channel, Christina Cakes It, and today I'm going to be making a koala bear cake. So to begin this tutorial, I do want to let you guys know that I already have my cake ready to go, crumb coated. And so for this cake, you can see that I have 3 6-inch layers. And so for this top dome, I use the same cake pan that I always use. So this is the Wilton sports ball cake pan set. And I use this for many of my cakes, and I will make sure to put that in the show notes. So to get started, I'm going to first cover my cake with some fondant. And so here I have some gray fondant, and I did use this using my homemade marshmallow fondant recipe that I will also put in the show notes. And to get this gray, I used this professional grade food gel coloring, which will be in the show notes. You can use black, like just a little bit of black to dye your fondant, but with that you run the risk of it kind of turning a little bit off color, and I just really wanted a perfect gray shade for my koala, so that's why I ended up using this. All right, so I'm just gonna cover this. Okay, so now I have my cake covered in our gray fondant, so the base of our koala is ready to go. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use some more fondant, and I'm going to create the koala's ears. So for this, I did create a template. You guys know that I love to use templates. And what I did when my cake was just crumb coated is I went next to it and I decided exactly where I wanted the ears placed and exactly how that curve is going to look. So I have my template here, and you can see I did label it R and L for right and left, obviously. And I did make these 2 days ahead of time. So it's really important that you guys do make the ears ahead of time, because they do need to dry and harden so that they stand out correctly from the cake, and they're really hard and firm and they don't like fall over. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna roll out some more fondant using my template. And I am going to be using double layers for this, because I'm going to be placing a stick in between, so I want to make sure that it's really secure. And since we're doing 2 layers, we don't want this super thick, because we don't want it so heavy that the cake pop sticks can't support it, but we also don't want it so thin that they tear. So again, we're going to cut out 2 of these for a double layer. So I'm going to adhere these together using my Wilton dab and hold. So I use this all the time. It sticks fondant to fondant or fondant to crusted buttercream. So what I'm going to do is these sticks are going to obviously be inserted into the cake. So I'm putting them at a very slight angle here, so they're not exactly straight, just because I want the ears to kind of stick up from the cake like that. So I'm going to place them here. And I'm going to brush a little bit of dab and hold on like this. And then I'm going to place the top layer. And then koalas kind of have like fuzzy ears around the edge. So I'm gonna create just some lines to kind of show that fuzziness. So I'm just going through, oops, and just making little lines like this to kind of give some texture. So I'm obviously gonna do the same thing for the left ear, and I'm gonna let these dry at least for a day. I did mine 2 days ahead of time. So here I have my ears that I already prepared, and they're pretty hard here. And so I am gonna add a white layer of fondant like this, because koalas have that big white space in their ear. So I'm gonna use white fondant for that. So I'm gonna go ahead and attach this. I feel like I can already tell that it's a koala's ears. So now I'm gonna go ahead and work on the koala's facial features. So I'm gonna use some black fondant for my koala's eyes. I did make another template for the koala's nose, and I made 2 different sizes. I'm not exactly sure which one I'm going to use. It just kind of depends on when I start placing it, what I think looks better. So koalas kind of have big black noses, like an oval shape. And then koalas have like a little white chin, like a little white beard. So I did use a template for that also. And for all of this, what I did is before I had covered my cake with fondant, when I was just crumb coated, I started just cutting out templates and just placing what I thought looked good, and this is just kind of what I came up with. So I do want to give our koala some little whites in his eyes, like little stars in his eyes. I always think that looks really cute on the cake. So I'm just using some frosting tips, and I use the circle ones. It's kind of just an easy little trick to make tiny little circles. So I'm gonna make a white belly for the koala. So I'm gonna cut that out also. So once again, I used a template for this, so that I had held up to the cake to see what size I wanted after I placed the facial features. I'm gonna go ahead and give our koala some arms. Koala is going to have little feet. And I am going to make another nose in a bigger size, just in case I decide to use one that's a little bit bigger, because I'm not exactly sure how it's going to look. So I just want to be ready in case I change my mind. And I'm not worried about the cornstarch on this fondant, because I'm just going to go over it with a little bit of shortening. And it'll come right off and it'll look really shiny. And the last thing I'm gonna make with fondant is a little piece of pizza. So if you guys remember, my hedgehog was eating a donut, and we're continuing the theme of animals eating junk food with the koala eating pizza. Okay, so now that I have all of my fondant pieces cut out, I'm gonna go ahead and clean some of this up, and I'm gonna start placing all the pieces on our cake. So the first thing is I do wanna know where my ears are gonna be placed, because this is gonna help determine where I put all the rest of the koala's facial features. So I think my ears, I might even just put it in here so I can see. So you can see I have this curve, and I want them to line up. So I'm not gonna keep the ears in there the whole time while I do this, but just for a minute while I place. The last thing I'm going to do is make some paws here, and I'm using AmeriColor edible marker. Okay, our koala cake is done, and I love how he turned out. And I hope that you guys enjoyed this tutorial, and if you did, don't forget to like this episode and subscribe to my channel below.